recording this talk because I think it's the most important thing I've discovered in my life to date, more important than just about anything else I've learned. And I want as many people in the world to be exposed to it, and it's been already written about in numerous forms. It's been talked about in various different mediums, but I don't think it's really ever been delivered in this fashion. And so I want to start by telling a story of how Dave Matthews became Dave Matthews. So back in the day, all these kids were graduating from high school and going into college. And Dave was like, I don't know if I want to do college. And so instead of following everyone else, he didn't go. And instead, he ended up moving to Australia, and he became a janitor for a bar. And then I think he became a bartender, one of the two. Well, after working at this bar for a while, the bar started running open mic nights. And so Dave's like, cool, I'll learn to play guitar and I'll start doing open mic nights. And then, thus, Dave Matthews is born. So breaking down Dave's story and what I'm going to talk about, and I'll give you, it's one word. I typically think it's follow the foundation, the most important word in business. This is also one word. And if you break down what happened for Dave, what he did is he said no to the maybes, right? He was kind of confused. He didn't really, college wasn't like a hell yes to him. It was a maybe, so he said no. He followed his inner voice. More importantly, he handled people's responses and reactions. Can you imagine? No, I'm not going to college. I'm moving to Australia to work at a bar. Like, that's not going to get a lot of approval. But he has also had clarity on what he wanted without collapsing. You know, he wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go to Australia. He's like, no, I feel good about Australia. And then he was also stubborn. You know, he's like, he really knew what he wanted, no matter how many people tried to convince him otherwise. So this most important topic that I'm talking about is alignment and finding alignment in your life. And John Mayer has a quote in one of his songs. He says, he found out that the real world is, what up, Adam?
Hey.
Cheers, round of applause for Adam Carroll. Hey, Drew. So we just started, you just missed the story of Dave Matthews, how he got famous.
Did you start over?
No. What's up, TJ? So John Mayer has a quote, and he says, there's no such thing as the real world, just a lie we have to rise above. And I think that the real world begins to not exist to you the way that people say it should as soon as you're in alignment with what it is that you want to do in your life. So talking about alignment, alignment is the number one goal in my life at this point. Above strategies, above tactics, above anything else, it's like, what is an alignment for me? Now, Andy, my good dear friend, business partner, his coach says that one person in alignment is more powerful than 1 million people out of alignment. And also, 1 hour spent working in alignment is more productive than a full day working out of alignment. So if you think about all the legends of history, like just some names that pop up, like what are some names that are like just total legends in history?
John D. Rockefeller.
Okay.
Beethoven.
Sure. Beethoven.
Gandhi.
Gandhi.
Einstein.
Henry Ford. All these people were super aligned. And if you think about it, the path that they walked down hadn't been really created yet. They carved it on their own. They got in alignment with who they were, and then they faced this treacherous woods that there's like no path, and they walked in, right? And so that's the question. How do you create the life of your dreams? Not someone else's dreams, but yours. And how do you create a life that you love? And the answer is by finding alignment. Now, I want to just briefly share, if you guys don't know me very well, sometimes I tend to cry. I'll probably tear up when I do this, just for fair warning. And then I want to talk about what happens when not in alignment. So this is one thing that I started to do to find alignment in my life. And you guys are all familiar with vision boards. And vision boards are usually focused on what you have. Like, what do you want to have? Like a big house, a nice girlfriend, cars, and money. Well, if you can supersede all that and you can go to states of being. There's have, do, and be. Who you're being indicates what you do, which will indicate what you have, right? So why not make the vision board about who you want to be? So who I want to be is alignment. So I created this vision board, and you'll see it's got all of my favorite people that inspire the shit out of me. Like when I think about these people, they produce like a visceral, holy cow like response to me. And so that's why if I do tear, I don't know if I will or not, but let me just walk through this vision board and how I use it in my life to find alignment. So This is the picture for Where the Red Fern Grows. It's an amazing book. Who's read it? Anybody? So awesome. This is a, Mom's smiling. This is a book, so the way of being for this is adventurous. Okay? And then this is Jesus, of course, and his way of being is loving. Like, if you really receive that, it's almost impossible not to tear up. This is C.S. Lewis, and his way of being is imaginative. He wrote Chronicles of Narnia. Like a wardrobe in an attic that you walk through, and there's a lamppost and a goat with a human body, and like, how do you do that? Imagination. And then this lady, she's a 109-year-old Holocaust survivor. If you haven't seen her video, it brought me to tears instantly. They asked her what's her secret to being so happy, and she can't really hear, and like, what's the secret? What's the secret to being so happy? She's like, oh, I see beauty everywhere. And it's just insane. So her way of being is beauty. So we've got adventurous, loving, imaginative beauty. And then this is Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia, and that's Lucy, I think, cuddled up next to him. And that's what I desire to be for women, for men, for everyone. And Aslan's way of being is protective, and like just like a lion, he would fucking kill for you to protect you. And then we have David Hawkins. He's really inspiring to me. And I thought this would be kind of cool because this is kind of the relationship that I desire, is this kind of endearment. And I've heard David Hawkins once say about his wife that he said, it's because of you that I know God's love is real. And his way of being is kindness. So imagine like you look at this every day and you install adventure, you install love, you install imagination, you install beauty, you install kindness. And then you got Desmond Tutu. Desmond Tutu's the man, and I listened to his podcast on the way of being, so thank you for that. And Desmond Tutu, his way of being is joy. If you see this guy smile, it's impossible not to light up. When he smiles, it's like, wow, it's like crazy cool. And then I have my parents on here, and their way of being is peaceful, and Mom's is unconditional acceptance. Thank you. And then we have Russell Crowe from Gladiator, honor and strength. And then we have this guy who, Skid Boot, is this dog that I saw. So when I did this, I just closed my eyes and I was searching for if you want to make something like this, I would just close my eyes and I searched for any time that I met someone that like produced that trigger response. And so this guy in the Oprah episode, he went ahead and said, Oprah's like, you must be really proud, so proud. Do you remember this part? I don't know. We were watching it together. But Oprah's like, you must be so proud to have this dog. And he said, no, I'm not proud at all. Like, I feel so lucky that I have this dog and like I'm at its service. Like, this dog is a gift to me. I take no credit for that. And it was, the humility was just so disarming. So that way of being is humility. Being a servant, sorry. And then this, actually, no, that's humility. This is being a servant. Nope, sorry, I'm gonna do it one more time. This is definitely humility. This guy's being a servant to his dog, unconditional. So way of being is a servant. This guy is the guy who created the study for water, where he froze the water crystals, and he looked at all these water crystals. We bought a janky old DVD off Amazon, and it was literally filmed with like a 1995 VHS, and we were watching this guy walk around, and he was so humble, and they asked him like about giving him all this credit for creating like the greatest discovery of human science. Some people say it's not scientific, whatever. I think it's pretty freaking cool. And they asked him like, wow, you must feel so proud. And he was, again, super humble. And he's like, no, I just feel so lucky that I was the one that discovered this gift. If it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to. And that kind of humility is what I want to bring to my life. And then Napoleon Hill, his way of being is a student. And Napoleon Hill was a student to all of the greatest minds, Rockefellers, the Carnegies. You know, he studied Carnegie and Rockefeller and Henry Ford and all these guys, and wrote the book, The Law of Think and Grow Rich. So I look at all these, and then I'm going to draw arrows, and then this guy in the middle is happy. And so that's one way of finding alignment. And I didn't originally have that planned in the speech. But what happens when you look at a vision board of things that you want, it typically produces anxiety. And when you look at a vision board that's like states of being, like, holy cow, does it light you up? Because those feelings aren't those people. Those people are activating feelings that are already inside me. That's me on that board. It's not like they're separate from me, they're different from me. Oh, they have, C.S. Lewis is imaginative and I'm not. No, if I can feel the imagination when I look at C.S. Lewis, that's actually my gift to have as well. So we're talking about alignment. What happens when you're not in alignment? I wonder if you guys are spinning in your wheels at all right now, but you think about, like, when you're not in alignment, there's friction, there's pain, there's lots and lots of effort, and the kind of effort that isn't really rewarding. Your self-esteem starts to suffer. Your self-love starts to suffer. Your quality of life drops. And each day that you wake up out of alignment, a piece of your soul dies and suffers. And weird things happen when you're out of alignment. When my mom, she's a piano teacher, and she's a very gifted piano teacher, and she stepped into being a piano office manager. Is it okay if I share this? And she went to a conference, and this guy was like, showed pictures of students lining up around the block to come to his piano studios, and I was like, gosh, I want that many students, and she got distracted by that and lost alignment, like we all have, and it stressed her out so much that she ended up getting into a car accident, and then completely shut down the studio, because she knew that was what caused that. So weird things happen when you're out of alignment, and it can be harder and harder to get out of alignment the longer you stay in. The longer you hesitate, the longer you stay in, the alignment and you just kind of keep shrinking and shrinking. And when I say your self-esteem and your self-love suffers, it's awful. It's awful. And that's why I say that the most important thing in the world is for you to find alignment with what you want to be and what you want to do and where you're going and whoever it is that you are. Finding that alignment's how you can show up to be the greatest version of yourself. And so also, when you're out of alignment, it just so happens to consume almost every thought and every feeling you have. Because you're thinking about it every day. Every day you go into that job you don't want to go into, you're like, I should quit this job. Or every time you see that manager, you think about it. You think about it when you're not even doing it. Legitimately, it's the greatest cause of stress for you is to be out of alignment. There are other great causes of stress, of course. So think about like a football team. Imagine if a running back tried to be a quarterback. Imagine if a football kicker tried to be a lineman. They would get slaughtered. Imagine, yes, this is perfect. Imagine the football kicker being a lineman, and everybody's telling him to be a lineman. For as long as he can remember everyone's telling him to be a lineman, so he decides to be a lineman, and he gets slaughtered every day because he wasn't built to be that. Self-esteem suffers, self-love suffers, gets consumed, puts in tons of effort, lifts, builds weight, all this stuff, and he'll never be as good as a natural lineman. So think about a football team. That's what's, if the running back's in the running back position and the quarterback's in the quarterback position, it just flows. But when it's not, it would be devastatingly awful. And then think about if your wheels are out of alignment. Think about when you're driving on the road, how much effort you're just kind of like, you're turning the wheel a little bit to the right or you're turning it to the left just to keep the car on the road. Versus just if it's aligned, you can just go and you can relax. And so my life is not as aligned as I would like, surprisingly. It's becoming more and more aligned. That's one of the reasons why I'm moving. And so what happens is when you start stepping into alignment, things become effortless. Effortless. And magical things start to happen. So if it's so painful to be out of alignment, then why do we stay there? And how does it happen? So let's go with how it happens. Well, I'm not an expert at this, by the way. I made all this stuff up like 2 days ago, just so you guys know. So this is all like tentative work, and if you want to challenge any of it, I welcome you to. And don't believe anything I say is the truth. I want you to like check in with yourself, and because I want to build this into a framework. Someone in here to build a Facebook group around finding alignment, and then we can all join it and we can discuss finding alignment stories. I'm going to give you guys an exercise in a little bit, and then I'm going to do something that's so terrifying for me in front of all of you. That is in alignment with who I am. And now I've said it, so I have to do it. So how alignment happens is it's a slow fade. Or how lack of alignment happens is a slow fade. You have that inner voice that says, hey, I want to do this thing, but you ignore it. And it's always there, and you ignore it. Other voices get louder, whether it's parents, significant others, authority figures, anything like that. And then so you have like your voice and you ignore it. Then you have your peers or everyone saying you should probably go to college or whatever it is. And then doubt sets in. And then you don't really check in with that if that's really real or not. And then slowly you fade off. And then another thing that I see is really common, and I think it's very subtle and very, very seductive. And if you're not aware to it, you can get lost. It's seeing other people that are successful and then thinking that you just need to model them and that's the answer. And that's really, really tricky because you can see like, wow, this person has this thing over here. And so let me go over here and do all these things. But like 3 months, 4 months later, you're like, this feels awful. It's because it's not in line with who you are. And the other problem with this is 95% of the world is legitimately blind. And so you're typically the blind following the blind. So why we don't do it, Well, we think we know others know better than we do. We don't, and I think the real essence of this, and just checking with yourself and see if you how this resonates, but I just think we don't trust ourselves. We truly don't trust ourselves. Because if we trusted ourselves, we would go do whatever it is. And or possibly, I thought I wrote down, we've never really experienced what that hell yes feeling is. And we'll get into that in a second. And so there's excuses and there's reasons why we also don't do these. There's things like limiting beliefs. It's fearful. Like when I'm going to do what I'm about to do, it's, oh, crap. Fear, scary. But I'm doing it as an example for you guys. That's probably going to be pretty, I'm not going to say anymore, but I want you to know that why I'm doing it is to face my fear. And also as an example for you guys all to figure out what that piece of alignment is for you and step into that expression yourself. It's fear, it's scary, it's often uncharted territory. Those legends, the Abraham Lincolns, the Gandhis, the Martin Luther Kings of the world, they were all in uncharted territory. So, and then you have things like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the experience, and that's all just really BS, but it feels real. And I think it all boils back down to, again, a lack of trust in yourself. So, how do you know if you're not in alignment? I'm not actually asking for you to answer, it's okay, but I just want to give a pause. So how do you know you're not in alignment? It's easy, you know. You know if you're not in alignment. And you can BS your intuition all you want. But you know it. You know for a fact if you're not in alignment. So what's the metric for making a decision or not? Well, if it's a maybe, it's generally a no. And if it's like a visceral boom, oh my gosh, yes. And now the thing is, the visceral yes happens, and then what happens next? The voice comes in, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. So the intuitive hit, and I love when I coach people either in the foundation or we're talking in life, and you're like, well, what do you think? And you can feel and go up to their head and go in story mode, and they're like, well, like all these excuses. And I'm like, what's your first intuitive hit? Well, I would do this. Have a second, but da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's totally the game that they play, and they're stuck in this wheel. And that's why it's really difficult to find alignment. So when you're aligned, you have abundance, complete abundance. And abundance, like how I defined it, is whatever you need is provided plus some. So if you take an inventory of every key area of your life, and like there are probably more key areas in this, but I was just kind of going with the flow. So we have health, wealth, relationships, spiritual, and then your purpose. Now, I'm iffy about this, but this feels pretty decent to me. So your health is aligned with, I believe, emotional surrender. Your health is aligned with emotional surrender. And I was going to read a story from a book about how when the body relinquishes guilt, typically most health symptoms will dissipate. This isn't always like a tried and true fact. But a lot of people, we carry on guilt and shame and emotions, and as you surrender these feelings, your health becomes more vibrant. I remember I was at Burning Man, and this guy's ripped, six-pack abs. I was like, dude, what's your workout? He's like, I got rid of all my baggage. He's like, I don't work out. And I was like, wow, that was really stuck with me. Health is aligned with emotional surrender. So how well are you surrendering to whatever emotions are coming up in your life? Wealth. I think this is aligned with joy of making and spending money and giving money too. If you feel joy around making, spending, and having money, then you're in alignment. If you feel like kind of more like that, there's something to examine. You need to get in alignment there. Relationships. If relationships in your life aren't aligned, it's typically what I believe, and I'm not a relationship expert, I just ended a relationship, so take this advice with a grain of salt. But relationships go really well for me when I'm aligned in complete self-love for myself. If I'm not aligned in complete self-love, it's always the other person. The other person's wrong, I haven't found the right person, I haven't found the one, I haven't da-da-da-da. All these things come up. Well, you can just tell, they're just projecting every repressed feeling they ever have, and it's typically aligned with self-love. If you're not in a relationship with that you want, it's typically an issue with self-love. And you know it too. How do you know if you're not in alignment in your relationship? You know. Spiritual. This is an aligned relationship with God for me. And then purpose. This is kind of cool. This is aligned with God and your personality and your soul. And you can kind of feel it when you're firing on all cylinders. that's when the abundance happens. So the lacking of abundance in your life is a lack of alignment. So if you guys just take an inventory, if you like think, this is where I'm not really feeling totally jazzed about or totally abundant about, this is typically because you're lacking alignment in that area. So no one, this is what's cool about it, is no one can tell you what to do. This is for you to decide. Health. What does health look like for you? What does wealth look like for you? Relationship, spiritual purpose. What does that look like for you? Don't go on Jenny Craig. Don't go on Weight Watchers. Don't do you should do vegetarian. Well, what if your body just wants some freaking chicken? And you don't eat chicken and you just eat vegetarians all the time and you're always tired. You're not in alignment. So this is for you to decide. And so wealth, is it millions or billions, or is it 10 grand a month? No one decides that except for you. And no one else decides that but you. But the thing is, you see the ads online, make 100 grand a month or whatever it is, and you start getting distracted and you get pulled out of alignment, and before you know it, you're not being true to yourself. For relationships. So actually, here's my examples. For me, health looks like working out in the morning and evening. I'm not strict to a diet, like I'm always vegetarian, I'm always vegan. I just kind of walk in the store and whatever feels good to me, I eat. For wealth, millions and possibly billions. For relationships, deep and vulnerable relationships, like sitting in presence with people and just looking them in the eyes and not even having to say a word and not having to try to control the situation, that's freaky for me. So that's what alignment looks like. Spiritual, for me it was God, visiting God daily with songs, listening to songs that inspire God into my life. And in purpose, my purpose is uplifting others. That's what I'm here on this planet to do, is uplift others. And that happens to be through the foundation right now. But those are the things for me for my alignment. So I have a few stories about personal life. So I built software companies for 7 years, and it was lots of struggle, and it was also lots of fun. I made really good money, and I also got scammed, and I also was up till 2 a.m. some nights. I was working my butt off. And I saw these sales letters online, and they're like, sell ebooks and make millions. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I started making ebooks, and I invested 2 months of my life making ebooks. And I did this, and I made about $1,000 the next year with this ebook. Meanwhile, the software business was maybe $5,000 a month at the time. And so when I look back at my tax return, I was like, ebooks, 1,000, software business, 60,000. I was out of alignment. I was following what other people said. How many people teach what we do in the foundation now? There are not really many. There might be a few popping up as competitors, but we don't worry about them. But think about how many people teach what we teach in the foundation. Hardly anybody teaches how to build software. And that would have never happened for me if I didn't stay in alignment with software. And I stepped out of this ebook. It was awful. It was like it'd be the example of, piano student to piano manager. I'm software to ebook, and it was awful. Now, the foundation, holy crap, is this company aligned? When I launched the foundation, I wanted 10 students, 88 joined. The next year, I wanted 200 students, 336 joined. The third year, we wanted 500, and 600 some joined. Now, we were abundantly rewarded with the foundation. And it's really fascinating because, so I also want to link up how stepping in alignment in one area can drastically impact the other. So I just ended an intimate relationship a couple months ago, and it became super official 15 days ago. One of the best decisions I could have made at the time. It has allowed me to really find myself again and really step into what I am, and also honor my intuition when I knew it was out of alignment for me. So what happens is about 15 days ago, we officially ended. Then I decided to go to this thing called the Conference for Men. Now, had I not ended the relationship and got into alignment there, I would have never been to the Conference for Men. And at the Conference for Men, we met two remarkable people. One is sitting here, Steve. Where are you, Steve? Right there. We've now hired to work with the foundation. And we also, so I'll tell you the story. So I got on stage with 4 other people, and Mike's like, hey, I just want to introduce some really world-class people. We have a world-class copywriter, a world-class developer, a world-class marketer, and a world-class split testing optimization guy. And my jaw was like, holy crap. Hired the copywriter, hired the split test guy. We've been looking for these people for 6 months. And as soon as I stepped in alignment in the intimate relationship arena and owned what was really real for me, however devastating and fearful that decision was, I went to this and I was abundantly rewarded. And there are so many, and you guys know stories about alignment. You guys have experienced this in your life. And I want to give you guys an exercise after I do that really scary thing. So I had the rug pulled out from underneath me last week when I realized that my Enneagram personality type is the type that I've never wanted to be. And I paid this coach to discover it with me. And it wasn't, he said, we're not going to do a test. We're going to go in and we're going to base this on like actual how you're really feeling. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the Enneagram, it's ENNEAGRAM. I highly recommend it. It helps you, Joel and Sarah Donati, we've been to Enneagram conferences together. The Enneagram helps you show you where your ego how your ego boxes you in, and then allows you to climb out. And then it's like a spiritually based assessment tool. So I've always thought that I was an enthusiast, which is a guy who values freedom and adventure, and an achiever, a guy who just crushes on accomplishment. And the enthusiast values freedom, and the achiever values significance. But it turns out I don't actually care about freedom like I thought I did. And I'm 7s up here and 3s down here. That's why I'm doing this. It's a circle. And then 3 values significance. And I always thought, I really want to value significance as a man. It's actually complete bullshit. My deepest desire is to feel safe. Yeah, I'm a 6. Yeah. Yeah. And this is deeply saddening to me because this is how out of alignment I was in my life for 30 years. I've perceived and chose and pursued freedom, which I built ridiculously well, traveled the world, never had to answer to anyone, had zero responsibility, no responsibility at all. The only thing I had to do was pay my taxes every quarter. I was unhappy pursuing freedom. Then I decided to become super significant and got on camera, got on the foundation, wanted to build followers. That didn't really provide what I wanted either, because what I wanted was safety, and I'll never find safety in the physical world. Safety's right here. But I didn't know I was looking for safety the whole time. And now that I know I'm looking for safety, and now that I know I'm actually the loyalist, the type 6, I can actually without fear, like, it was so funny because on the call I was like, fuck this, I do not want to be a 6. Like huge F-bombs. I was cussing all over the place. It's like 6s are weak, they're pathetic, I won't say any of the words. It's a huge deal. And I was like, the last thing I want to be is a 6. No! Seriously, it was awful. And then I started reading about the good qualities of the 6 after we're done. The good qualities of the 6 are remarkable. The 6 is a rock, a fortress, a foundation. And I looked at the levels of health of the 6. And the healthiest levels of 6, they create communities like this. And they create things where people feel safe. Holy crap. Now I can own that. It's like, yes. That's my hell yes. Is this, tonight, community. Not freedom, not significance, but safety. And that comes from within, and community. It was so cool, it's like levels of 3. The third level of health, which is a really, really high level of health for the 3. Once you get here, you just focus on providing safety for others. And that's all I've been doing with the foundation. You know it if you're in it. Everyone in there feels like they belong, they feel safe. Stacy's in the foundation, she's brilliant in there. And so, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. And that happened last week. And this guy was really expensive to hire, but my guilty pleasure is I spend maybe 20% of my income on coaching. Yeah. And this guy doesn't coach anymore, but since I'm pretty persuasive, I'm like, dude, you have to coach me. He's like, okay, I'll coach you. And then he was like, I think it was so funny because I think it was $8,000, and then I delayed it, and then 2 or 3 months later, he's like, it's 12.5 now. And I was like, well, as long as you feel an integrity, knowing that you said it was 8, then I'll pay the 12. And he's like, oh, well, as long as you know that you agreed to 8 3 months ago and now things have changed. And I was like, okay, here's my check. And 2 calls in, bam. And the reason this guy's so good is he does the shadow work, which runs all of our lives, the dark side that you hide from. So every Enneagram type has these dark shadows, and he goes straight into them. And so they don't run your life anymore. And these are the things that I do for alignment. I have 5 coaches right now. Seriously, I'm nuts. Okay, so since then I've stepped into like the supportive ways. Like I'm just more loyal. I'm fiercely protective, like beyond what you wouldn't believe. Tyler, we were out at San Diego, and Tyler got the bright idea to start calling girls Margaret and hugging them on the street. And so he'd walk up, Margaret, and he'd give them hugs, and the girls would laugh so hard because no one's named Margaret. And this guy ended up starting a fight with us, and he's pushing me up against the car, and he like punched me in the back of the head, and like all I was thinking about was protecting Tyler. And you felt protected, I imagine. Like I had my arm around him, and we were walking away. I was like, yes, this is who I am. And I don't know how I would have done that because, you know, back in the day with Drew got in a fight once, and I didn't back him up, and I was like, I'm taking my sandals off, man. I was coming, you know, like. and like I wish I could do that over again because I would have just dove in like a freaking lion. I'm not sure what it looks like, what my alignment looks like right now, but I know that maybe's a no, and I know that I'm sitting with maybes and exploring, and I wait for those hell yeses until I find the hell yes. So, but I'm not sitting around. I'm not like, okay, I'm gonna wait. That's a maybe, so it's a no. I'm just gonna sit here and wait. You can like tentatively pursue the maybes because it's often like when you're in pursuit, you just know you're not gonna commit to that maybe, and these new things start to happen for you. So the story of Encinitas. So I'm moving to Encinitas, California, and it's heaven on earth. It's almost too perfect. And so the way that I believe that God's working in my life right now is he's either opening doors or closing them. So he slammed the door shut on my intimate relationship, honored that, finally, and it felt amazing and painful. You guys know what it's like. Then I called my buddy up and I said, hey, I want to move out to San Diego, but it has to be perfect, man. Like I don't want to live with these people because I don't like them, and I don't want to live here, and I want to live this, and did all these criteria. And then I hung up the phone, and then I surrendered it to God. I said, you know what, I don't even care. I'm not even going to go anymore. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm just going to stay in Des Moines. I'm totally unattached. 3 days later, I got a message from a friend of mine, and she's like, hey, we heard you're looking for a place. And I got a place like in one of the nicest homes in the nicest parts of Encinitas with some of the coolest people. And I was so funny. He's like, is it really true that I get to live with the cool kids now? And she's like, no, Dane, we're all nerds. We just grew up. And I was like, yeah, that feels so true to me. And so, but the people that I'm living with in this house are just remarkable. Like the people that we live with here, you guys are all remarkable. And they're in Encinitas. And we're like 3 blocks away from the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is one of the highest energetic frequencies in the country, the first meditation center. And like when you live there, like there's this vortex that kind of spins around you. And 2 blocks from Whole Foods and all these things, and the house is gorgeous, and it's just like perfect, like instant alignment, right? And so that was a hell yes. I said yes within 3 hours. It felt so perfect. And then finding alignment in this vision board, and then finding alignment in God. And David Hawkins talks a lot about this, and I wish I would have looked up some of his quotes, but David Hawkins is one of my favorite spiritual teachers, and he's got all these quotes about, he wakes up in the morning and he said, God, dedicate me to your service today. God, I surrender my life to thee and the good works that you will work through me. And like that's how he starts every day. And Hawkins is like one of the happiest dudes I've ever seen. When he presents on stage, he just like he'll be teaching a super advanced spiritual concept, and then he'll sing like a 3-year-old jig, like oh sorry guys, and he'll laugh and he'll come back and he's like, sometimes when I'm really happy I just like to sing that song, like, and he's 80, So I should probably do that thing now. So we're gonna do an exercise. How has this been for you guys so far? How many of you guys feel like you're in alignment in your life? Getting there.
Some areas.
Close. How many know you're not in alignment? Some areas. Cool. So it's like, yeah, me too. Like I would raise my hand on both of them. So can you pass me the guitar behind you there? Okay, so something that I've started doing on these webinars in the foundation is I've started doing improv on the guitar. So I have no idea what I'm going to sing to you guys, and that's what terrifies me. And I'm only going to do like a minute or two because I don't know if I can stand the tension any more than that. So I was on a coaching call today with Christina Rasmussen, and her book's not around anymore, but she's brilliant, and she's the author of Second Firsts. She's done 25 years of neuroscience research on grief and how to process through really traumatic situations. She lost her husband. And so anyway, we were on the call today, and I told her, all I really want to do is play. And so I grabbed the guitar and I played a few songs for her, and she said, all right, Dane, well, you're giving a talk on alignment tonight. What are you going to do that's in alignment with who you are? And I was like, we're not going to sing anything. And she's like, well, if you don't sing anything, then I'm not going to work with your coaching client anymore, and you have spent all your money. We're only like 2 sessions in. Okay. So here's my new alignment practice. So here's what I'm thinking about. Alignment is typically something that no one will ever tell you what to do. And like it's something that you would just do yourself. And it comes to you kind of like through this spark of whatever, and it's typically totally off the beaten path of like, you're like, oh, could I do this over here? And so for me, like what I'm going to start doing and experimenting with, and I don't know what will happen with it, but it's something about like morning wisdoms with Dane. And so each morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have a love affair with myself because I'm practicing self-love. I just realized a couple days ago, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't love myself or like myself that much. And I was really angry all the time. And honestly, just that awareness is like, oh, I love myself and like myself a lot now. It is 2 days. And maybe sometimes I don't, but that's okay. Like, so this is my new thing. This is an alignment with me. This feels totally perfect. And it's morning wisdoms with Dane. So I'm going to wake up every morning and we're going to start on the road trip, boys. And I'm going to just like sing for like a minute of like, and I'm going to have a love affair with myself. And I'm going to sing a song for whatever message it is that I need to hear that day. And then I'm just going to post it up on YouTube. And we'll see what happens. Like, but that's what alignment's looking like for me. So I don't really have any idea what I'm going to sing about right now. And I'm oddly not, I actually don't feel that much fear, which is really cool. It'll probably start. So, there it is. Alignment, my divine assignment. All I gotta do is surrender to the consignment, and then I'll be free. And then it'll finally be so easy to be happy. Alignment, it's my divine assignment. Surrendering to God's consignment, so then I can be free. So then I can be happy. Wake up in the day, I don't even know what I want to do, so I follow someone else's vision, and my heart becomes a black and blue and bruised. 'Cause I wasn't true to you, but now I am. We're friends again because I've got alignment, assignment, divine assignment, and surrendering to God's assignment. And when you finally step into your power and step past the fear, you see that things finally, they become so clear. And then you see that your dreams, they are so, so near. When you drop the fear, things become clear, and then you see that you're near. Your dreams are right in front of you all along. You just ignored them, now you listen to the song. So I hope that you find alignment for you, and I hope that you are inspired to do something crazy like this, because I feel amazing right now. I'm just flowing consciousness, and there's nothing to stop me now, and I could kick anyone's ass. But probably not, my ass would be grass. Because alignment's my divine assignment, and if I surrender to God's consignment, then I can finally be free. Then I can finally see that this fear has been stopping me. So now things, they feel a lot more clear, and things, they feel a lot more near, and things, they keep getting better and better, because I found alignment, my divine assignment, and I've surrendered to God's consignment, and finally I follow my heart, and finally I say yes to my intuition. I've always had the suspicion that I was doing things kinda wrong. So I sat here now and I wanted to express my heart with this heartful song. And I'm gonna sit here every morning and I'm gonna sing myself this tune. And I hope that you listen and your heart soars over the moon, 'cause we've got alignment, my divine assignment, and I've surrendered to God's consignment. And finally I am happy, and finally I feel free. Whew. Thank you. How happy do I look right now? Seriously, this is what alignment looks like. This is what can be your life when you step into full artistic expression, full heartfelt expression of who you are. And I'm a stand for all of you to find that. I'm here for you to find that. Even though I am leaving, I want to create this Facebook group. I want to be actively involved in it, and I want to explore every nook and cranny we could for alignment. So if you guys are feeling inspired, I had an exercise. I've got some sheets of paper. We're talking like 10 more minutes max. Does that feel okay to everyone? If you need to leave, please do now. But so we have if you could pass the sheets of paper and pen around, I just want you guys to get some questions down so you can think about this and contribute in the Facebook group later. So what is the time in your life when you're out of alignment? How did it feel? How did you get out? What did you have to get through or overcome to get out?